Wow. This is a weird experience. So, 2 days ago, a woman calls me. Hi, I'm selling my house. I need my windows cleaned. I'm putting it on the market Thursday in 3 days. It's like, is there any way you can just get it done before then? And I was like, well, I need to come take a look at it and give you guys a price. And I don't know if I'll have time for that until, after, or, until that day. And she's like, well, just go over there, and I just want to schedule it. Just you do it, and then, I know you're not going to screw me over, is what she said. I'm like, okay. So I scheduled the job. And I go over there. Job is today. So I go over there this morning, knock on the door. A man answers. I said, hello, is such and such here, the woman that I was on the phone with? And he's like, no. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, we had scheduled a window cleaning for right now. And he's like, oh, that's nice of her to tell me. And so, like, right away I started to be like, oh boy, this is something weird's going on here. And then, so yeah, I basically filled him in on everything that me and the woman talked about. It was his wife. And so I basically, which I found out later, so I just filled him in on everything we talked about. I said she was going to let me know if she wanted some of the interior done, but exterior for sure. He's like, okay, well, I'll let you know. I was like, okay. So I started on the exterior after I gave him the invoice and stuff. Finish up the exterior, and I go inside, and the guy's like, I'm working downstairs, and I can hear him upstairs, and I just hear he's like yelling, like he's like throwing crap, like I can hear it from downstairs. Like he's just angry. Like I could tell he was angry when I first met him. And so I'm making my way around the house, and I make it to this room by the front door, and I look on the ground, a bunch of shredded papers, and on the ground is my invoice that I gave him like an hour ago. I just see it. I can see Heyman window cleaning, and it's all shredded up and stuff on the ground, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, this guy's gonna kill me. Like, I didn't know what was going on. I was kind of freaking out. Meanwhile, he's upstairs, also freaking out in a different way. So I'm just doing the job, and I make my way to upstairs and where he's at, and I just finish up. And I actually asked him earlier before this, because they were moving, and I was like, so are you moving like nearby? And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, oh, he doesn't even know yet. So I was like, that's odd. So then I finished up, and I approached him with my copy of the invoice. I just had him sign that one instead of both of ours because his was on the ground shredded. And I was like, would you like another copy of this? But I said, like, seriously, in a nice way. And he's like, no, it's fine. And he just hands me it back and kind of like expects me to walk away, like leave, And I was like, oh. I was like, so was Robin, I didn't want to say her name, whatever. I was like, so was your wife going to pay me, basically, is what I said, like, in a professional way. And, because, like, she wasn't there, but she was the one that scheduled everything. So I just assumed she was going to be there. And, he's like, oh, she didn't pay you? And I was like, no. And, he's like, oh, well, that's pretty typical. And I explained a couple things, like, he was pretty mad. Like, he's experienced this before, apparently. And, he's like, well, if she calls you again, I wouldn't come back, because chances are she might not pay you. And he just hands me his credit card and, like, goes away to do something else. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess they're paying with credit card today. Just pulled out my QuickBooks, scanned it, and got paid. And then his whole demeanor kind of changed after that. He was like, all right, so he's like, well, you did a really good job. He's like, I'm going to put your name around the neighborhood for you, just, in case of any of the other neighbors want it. I was like, hey, I appreciate it, sir. I was like, okay, well, have a good one. And I scrambled out of there very fast because it was uncomfortable. And I got a very mid-divorce vibe. I don't know what was going on, but like when I saw the invoice shredded on the ground, I was like, I'm gonna be murdered today. That was crazy. It was very weird. I've never experienced that before. So if you've had any similar experiences, let me know in the comments, because I'd like to hear about them, because it was like my first like I've had people like be upset, but like this is my first one that was like, well, that's weird, real weird. So anyway, all right guys, have a good one.